The Sarah Grace Patrick double unaliving trial that was supposed to start today has now been delayed to August. Sarah Grace Patrick, if you don't know, she is 17 years old and is charged with 2 counts of unaliving and 2 counts of aggravated assault in the deaths of James Brock and Kristen Brock, shown here. Now, that's her mother and her stepfather. The couple was fatally shot in their home on February 20th, 2025, according to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and prosecutors say that Sarah Patrick shot both victims and allowed her younger sister to find the bodies before calling 911. The jury selection for this was supposed to start this morning. However, the trial was delayed after prosecutors have said that they need more time to review a preliminary report on a neuropsychological evaluation conducted by an expert for the defense. Sarah had turned herself in after a warrant was issued for her arrest in July. At the time of her arrest, authorities said that they were still investigating the motive. The jury selection is now being delayed to August 3rd. Now, if you have not heard of this case before, I'm going to go into just kind of a quick summary of what has happened thus far. So if you don't want to stay and listen to it because you already know the details, that's totally fine. Make sure you're giving me a like. That helps support my channel. So a little bit more about this case is that Kristen Brock was age 41 and James Brock is age 45. They were found deceased in their home in Carrollton in February by their youngest daughter. Now, their teenage daughter, who is Sarah Grace Patrick here, 17 years old, then called emergency services. Over the following months, a TikTok account allegedly belonging to Sarah posted multiple videos mourning her mother and stepfather. Sarah went on to message TikTok true crime creators saying some of the following, quote, "Look up the Brock case," it read. "They're my parents, and out of nowhere on a random Thursday night in February, someone came in my house with me and my 5-year-old sister. They shot my parents, brutally leaving them for me and my little sister to wake up to." She also said, "I think it would be a really big hit because the only person who posted about it made it as the first image you see when you Google their names. That's what the cops told me." These messages went into creators on June 4th, 2022. And then on July 8th, police announced that Sarah Grace Patrick had turned herself in. When police were called to the Tyus Road home in Carrollton's Tyus neighborhood in the early hours of February 20th, photos taken that morning showed at least a half a dozen police cars surrounding the single-story home. Police tape cordoned off the yard as investigators combed through the scene, interviewed neighbors, and searched for security camera footage. There was no sign of forced entry, they said, but a door had been left ajar. They had not found an unaliving weapon as well. The sheriff's office spokesperson said that the attack had stunned the area, quote, "This is a very quiet community. We may have a few thefts here and there, but we definitely don't have violent crime, so this is very unusual in this area." The family was well known in the rural community, particularly through their church. Ben Bonner, the lead pastor at the Catalyst Church there, said Ms. Patrick and the Brocks had, quote, "jumped right in since joining last August." He said the entire family became very, very beloved. The pastor also went on to say that our church family adores all of them. They were there during the week, not just on Sundays, helping. Other members of the church described meeting a bubbly Kristen Brock and her comical husband. Quote, "My shoe was untied at a parade, and before I knew it, Kristen was down on her knees tying my shoe," a church member noted. "I looked down at her and I was like, 'What are you doing? You don't have to tie my shoe.' But it was just the smallest act of kindness, and it just meant so much to me. And I remember her looking up at me and saying, 'This is the type of friend I want to be.'" A few weeks later, it was standing room only inside the church as the couple was laid to rest, while the investigators at that time were still digging into the case. On stage at this memorial service, Sarah Grace Patrick went up and she was distraught. She stated, quote, "I just want to say goodbye since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys being here that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here. I didn't have a single clue how much I needed y'all until now. For James, thank you for being the life lessons you taught me and for being the best bonus dad ever. And for my mother, everything we went through does not define what kind of person you were or what kind of mother you were." In the months following her mother and stepfather's deaths, Sarah moved all over, according to the authorities. One woman, Caitlin O'Keefe, said that she was a friend of Sarah's biological father and had met her just 3 days after the unalivings. Her father said what happened and said that the kids didn't have any clothes since the house was closed off. She stated, quote, "My heart broke for it, so I came and picked Sarah up and took her to get clothes, underwear, deodorant, your basics. She ended up moving in with me. She used to lay in her bed and sob. I would watch her grieve." Police and authorities have not confirmed that the now deleted TikTok account belonged to Sarah Grace Patrick. When it was asked about the videos and comments that were posted online, Ms. Husley confirmed that police believe that Sarah had attempted to, quote, "cover up the crime in the months following the shooting." Considering that she didn't just immediately tell us what happened, yes, but who knows what's going on in a young person's mind like that. On July 8th, Ms. Patrick had turned herself in after police informed her father they had an outstanding warrant for her arrest. She was then charged with the 2 counts of unaliving, 2 counts of aggravated assault, as well as 2 counts of malice, unaliving, and 2 weapons charges. Police have said that they have, quote, "mountains of evidence that have led them to hone in on Sarah as their key suspect." They also stated, quote, "While the case has not remained in the public spotlight in recent months, the investigation has never gone silent. The team has pursued every lead, sifted through mountains of physical and digital evidence, conducted countless interviews, and collaborated with the FBI and the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Crime Lab, and private forensic laboratories. In a world where television portrays crimes being solved in under an hour, the truth here is much more complex." She went on to add that it's possible there could be more arrests and charges laid in the future. Sarah's father, Donald Patrick, said that he believed his daughter was innocent with 100% of my heart, adding that there were no red flags. Her father went on to state that February 21st, I had to come home and tell my son that his mother and his stepfather were deceased. He wrote in a lengthy Facebook post, "It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Until I had to take my daughter to the sheriff's office, I did not turn her in. She voluntarily went there because of the warrants, and she had nothing to hide." Other family members, however, have expressed doubt. James Brock's niece, Kristen Duda, said in an interview with Law and Crime that they had suspicions prior to Sarah's arrest, saying, quote, "I'm confident we'll get justice in this case now. She was a sweet girl. She was welcoming to everybody. She was soft-spoken. She always appeared nice." James Brock said repeatedly, "She is not the Sarah that you guys know. You don't see the real Sarah." And so now, looking back, that haunts us. Should we have asked more questions? At Sarah's first court appearance, she was ordered to remain behind bars awaiting her trial. Several members of the Brock family also spoke at the hearing, stating that they feared Sarah may lash out or attempt to intimidate them if she was released. Quote, "The family is sincerely afraid," the prosecutor told the court. He added it was understandable that there had been no concerns raised about her behavior before her arrest. No one ever knows someone is violent until they're violent. Friends and church members, however, described Sarah as kind and connected to her religion. The court judge ruled that Sarah was a flight risk, a risk to influence witnesses, and a threat to the community and her family. So since that point, Sarah has been isolated from the general population at the Carroll County Jail. Authorities haven't released a motive for the killing at this time, and now we will have to wait until August 3rd for her trial to start, which, as I said, was intended to start today. So that's a quick update on everything about the Sarah Grace Patrick case. Thank you for listening. As always, I will see you in the next one. Make sure you are liking, following, and sharing and engaging in my content. I greatly appreciate it. It helps out the channel so much.